Hi, welcome to EZSSH tutorial series. In this series, we help you get started with EZSSH. As always, if you prefer the text version, the link to our documentation page is down in the description. In today's video, we're going to help you deploy to Azure using Pulumi and using our script to be able to authenticate to EZSSH since the beginning. So first thing we have to do is go to our EZSSH page, and in the portal you'll navigate to your policy. In this case it's an Azure policy, and we're gonna click on the get script. In here we're actually gonna use the cloud init because these are new resources we're using. And here you're gonna select your distro. In this case we're gonna use Ubuntu, so we're just gonna download that. Once we do that, you can go ahead, and we actually have a getting started that kind of helps you get started with Pulumi and everything. And I'm going to link another tutorial that helps you install and do everything in Pulumi. But once you have Pulumi ready, this is a sample that will help you create some VMs in a virtual network. It should get you started, and then you should be able to do it for other VMs as well. So once you have that, you're going to I opened the files in VS Code, and the important one, we have the Pulumi dev because I use the dev stack to start, and the only thing we have is Azure location that in this case we have central US. And then in here we have my stack, which is basically where all the information is. And I already logged into Azure, as you can see here. And here I'm just going to quickly go through it. Our documentation does a more thorough job into each thing what it does. So first we're creating a Azure resource group, and we're naming it samples VM, and then we're creating a network security group, and we're just creating a network inbound rule that allows anything to go into port 22. You should definitely change this to match it to only your IP addresses instead of everybody. In this case, we're just making it so it's easy to get started, but you should definitely change this. You should not have your admin ports open to the internet, even though you're using EZSSH, which is a very secure way to authenticate. And then we're just creating a virtual network. And in here we have a for loop to create VMs. This is just to show how easy it is to create hundreds of VMs. In this case, we're just gonna create 2, and we go through and we create the public IP address. This is just because I want to have a public IP address, and it's dynamic. I'm not getting a static one. So basically each time the VM restarts, I would get a new one. And then we're creating a network interface for that VM, and we are adding the public IP address to it, and then an internal IP address. And then we're creating the virtual machine with this network interface in it, and we are setting up the size. We're just making it the smallest one possible, and we're setting it in the location that is the same as the resource group, which is the one that we get from the pulumi.yaml. And then we're setting up the server. In this case, we're just going to use the Ubuntu server, and we're creating a disk for the OS. And in here it requires you to have a username and password. And here I'm just creating like literally calling it random admin user and generating a password. And to do that, I just have a password generator here that is 32 in length, and we actually don't save it because we're not going to use that user. We're just going to use EZSSH. And then for custom data, this is where you send the cloud in. So by default, we have it that it'll go to your user profile /downloads, and then in here you have to set the download name of your policy or however you save the file, and you can change this to be the folder wherever you want. We just set it up because most people have it in downloads, so we set it up as that, and that's basically it. So after that, we can just do Pulumi up, and then we select the stack. As I said, I have already created the dev stack, so we're just going to use that one for mining here. If it's the first time you're running it, it will ask you to create a stack, and you just create one, and so on. All right, so now the resources were created, and we can see here. So now we're just going to go to Azure and verify that they were created. And as we can see here, it created the resource group, and then it created the 2 test VMs with their public IP addresses. And we can see here, we're just going to grab one of the 2. So it's this one, and then we go to EZSSH. And we could either be patient and wait for like 15 minutes and it'll refresh, or we can just go ahead and refresh endpoints. I actually deleted this one and created the other 2. So as you can see, that one got deleted, and now I created these 2 IP addresses, and you can see that the IP address matches what we created. And now we're ready to start authenticating to those VMs. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna copy this IP address, and we're gonna go to our PowerShell command line, and we're just gonna type EZSSH, and then we're gonna do SSH -E for endpoint. Then we're just gonna do root, just because we're gonna use the root account and the IP address that we copied before. We're gonna click enter, and we're logged in. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.